Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, April 9th. A very active weather pattern continues across much of the nation. A powerful cold front arrives in the eastern part of the nation during the midday, early afternoon hours, and it will be accompanied by some showers, maybe even a couple of strong to severe thunderstorms in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. Perhaps the bigger story, however, will be the strong winds. They will really increase markedly this afternoon, up to 50 miles per hour or so in terms of wind gusts possible in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Again, that's for this afternoon into the early evening. The winds stay quite strong throughout the night tonight and throughout the day tomorrow on Friday in the Mid-Atlantic region as a cold air outbreak arrives in the region. Temperatures will drop quite noticeably tonight, way down into the 30s in the I-95 corridor region. Could even be a rain or snow shower in some areas, especially north of the Mason-Dixon line. Things get a little bit calmer on Saturday, but then a major storm system will take shape over the weekend in the Central Plains. The initial low will ride up to the north and east into the Great Lakes, but kind of a secondary system will form near the eastern seaboard, and it looks like a heavy rain event is quite possible here in the Mid-Atlantic region Sunday night into Monday. This storm system is liable to produce some accumulating snows as well up in the parts of the upper Midwest, and a potential widespread severe weather outbreak primarily focused on Sunday, Easter Sunday, anywhere from Texas, Louisiana, all the way to the Carolinas. We'll talk about all of that over the next several minutes. Another cold air shot arrives in the eastern U.S. Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and once we get into that cold air mass, we'll stay rather cold on a sustained basis through much of the remainder of April in the central and eastern U.S. Well, let's start off by looking at the current radar map across the nation. A lot going on. First of all, there's been this storm system really swirling around California over the last few days. Kind of unusual for this late into the spring season to see this kind of a storm impacting places like Southern California with significant rainfall, now all the way up into Central California. This system actually will be the one that re-intensifies out over the Central Plains by early Sunday in this section of the country right here. It's the California storm that ends up potentially bringing heavy rainfall to the Mid-Atlantic region on Sunday night and Monday. This initial storm will then ride up to the Great Lakes region in this fashion, but there will be kind of a secondary wave that forms closer to the East Coast. Again, that will contribute to a heavy rain potential. Now, in terms of the strong cold front, there are some showers already in the I-95 corridor region, right this area right here, associated with this advancing strong cold front, but we're not quite there yet. There may be a gap, and then we'll have to watch these bands of showers, maybe embedded thunderstorms upstream for the late morning, the midday, and early afternoon hours. Again, occasional showers in the Mid-Atlantic region, perhaps a strong to even potentially severe thunderstorm as this cold front arrives. Then the winds really will kick up this afternoon, again gusting to potentially 50 miles per hour in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor, and those strong winds continue tonight and on Thursday on Friday as well. Notice blues showing up here. This is in that cold air mass that's coming across the Great Lakes today into the northeast part of the nation. Some snow falling right now across the northern plains and upper Midwest. Well, let's kind of break down the forecast for the next several days. Again, it includes a powerful cold frontal system today, a potential widespread severe weather outbreak over the upcoming weekend, primarily focused on Sunday, Easter Sunday, and a heavy rain event possible in the Mid-Atlantic region Sunday night and Monday, and all that follows 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts this afternoon and this evening. Very active weather pattern. First of all, in terms of the cold frontal system, what we're looking at here is the vorticity centers at 700 millibars. It's a little bit ways up in the atmosphere, perhaps at a little different level than we normally look at 500 millibars or 850 millibars. I wanted to show you the 700 millibar because there's one feature here that really leads me to have some concern about a widespread severe weather outbreak on Sunday. First of all, here's the upper level low in southeastern part of Canada, and that is associated with that strong cold frontal system. And here's the circulation pattern with the California storm. Again, that California storm is what will wreak havoc later in the weekend across the central U.S. and ultimately the eastern U.S. Now, let's move forward here. You see this strong cold frontal system does have some upper level support. Could be a strong to potentially severe thunderstorm today in parts of the mid-Atlantic region. Certainly showers are likely. And again, the winds will really gust immediately behind that frontal passage during the afternoon and evening hours, potentially up to 50 miles per hour or so. Then we move forward here. Tomorrow, a very blustery day in the mid-Atlantic region, way below normal in terms of temperatures. Cannot rule out an isolated rain or even a snow shower on Friday. Meanwhile, that California storm system by tomorrow morning still sitting and spinning over Southern California, but then it ejects out, and we'll watch it as it keep a focus right in this region. This is what remains of the California storm by Sunday morning. And one thing I want to point out, and notice these wind barbs right here, this region right here. Notice that there, when you have a solid wind barb like that, that represents 50 knots. And a regular line, a long line, represents an additional 10 knots, and a short line, an additional 5 knots. My point is, very strong winds are going to show up in the lower middle part of the atmosphere on Sunday in the warm sector. Notice that upper level low sitting over here. This is where the surface low will form. And as we move forward here, notice this very large area, very strong winds at 700 millibars. Same thing at 850 millibars. That oftentimes spells trouble in terms of the potential for severe weather. And again, I'm expecting the possibility of a widespread severe weather outbreak this week, and primarily focus on Sunday from Texas all the way to the Carolinas. Could even expand up into Virginia and Maryland. We'll have to watch that as we get closer to the event. And here we go by Monday morning. That upper level low, the initial low, goes up into the Great Lakes region. Notice these strong winds in the lower level of the atmosphere in that warm sector. Again, adds to the possibility of severe weather, maybe even including tornadic activity in some parts of the nation. Again, primary concern from Texas, Louisiana, all the way to the Carolinas. That could extend a little bit north and east in the mid-Atlantic region. Low pressure will be sitting off the coast at this time, and again, a heavy rain event is possible. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, Sunday night and Monday morning. Well, now let's jump to the surface forecast maps from the 0Z GFS model run. Strong cold front approaching the eastern seaboard at this hour. It arrives during the afternoon hours, and meanwhile, out in California, a storm still sitting and spinning. Snows in the higher elevations of the Sierra Nevada. And let's move forward here. Could be a shower at any time today in the mid-Atlantic region, maybe even a strong thunderstorm or two as that cold air really drops south and east, and the cold air becomes noticeable in the overnight hours, and certainly on Friday itself there will be quite a bit lower wind chill values as compared with the actual air temperature. Notice the intensification of this low, 982 millibar by early this afternoon, and a 1029 high out here in the northern plains. All these black lines in between represent lines of equal pressure. The tighter those lines, the stronger the pressure gradient. The stronger the pressure gradient, the stronger the winds. And as this deepens, that pressure gradient will intensify, and again, leading to potentially 50 mile per hour wind gusts this afternoon, and maybe 45 mile per hour wind gusts tonight and on Friday. Let's keep moving forward here. Look at that low pressure area intensified from 982 to 973 millibars in just a 6-hour period. This is the evening forecast tonight, early evening. Heavy snows up across northern New England associated with this cold air starting to pour in. California storm starting to make a move, eject out of the southwestern part of the nation. And let's move forward. Look at this tight pressure gradient. That low by late tonight down to 967 millibars. So it goes from 982 early this afternoon to 967 late tonight. That causes a real intensification of this pressure gradient between that low and Central Plains high. Hence, very, very strong wind gusts will continue all night long and pretty much all day long on Friday. Here we are, Friday morning. Again, 966 low now. Very strong pressure gradient. Could have 45, 50 mile per hour wind gusts anytime throughout the day on Friday as well in the Mid-Atlantic region. Meanwhile, by tomorrow morning, still some rain down across extreme Southern California. Then let's move forward here. Things calm down a little bit in the east on Saturday. Still a bit of a breeze on the cool side of normal. And then by the time we get to Saturday night, especially early Sunday, here's where that California low spills out across the Rockies into the Central Plains and begins to intensify. Notice, excuse me, another cold air mass moving in from the north and west. And we've talked about the active pattern partly as a result of this continuation of the cold air outbreaks. You get the cold air outbreaks coming from Canada into the northern U.S., and you combine that with increasingly warm and humid air out around the Gulf of Mexico, aided by very warm sea surface temperatures, and you have quite a clash in this part of the nation. And again, that could lead to, that could contribute to a severe weather outbreak, a widespread severe weather outbreak later this weekend from Texas, Louisiana, all the way to the Carolinas, potentially all the way up to Virginia and Maryland as well. Let's move forward here. Look at this heavy rain starting to form. Again, this is the area where those very strong low-level winds will exist on Sunday, and that will continue to some shear, contribute to the possibility of severe weather, even maybe some tornadic activity from Texas, Louisiana, all the way to the Carolinas. Snow in the cold sector here, the cold side of the storm. Let's move forward here. And the main initial low rides up to the north and west of the I-95 corridor. Some accumulating snow. This is now late Sunday night, accumulating snow in the upper part of the Midwest, but all this heavy rain headed towards the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, we're talking about Sunday night, Monday morning time frame, and strong winds associated with this system as well. So you have a heavy rain event, you have strong winds, primarily focused on Sunday night and Monday in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. Look at that, a 980 low over the Great Lakes by Monday morning, accumulating snow across upper Michigan, Wisconsin. Another Canadian high on Monday morning across the southwestern part of Canada, and yet another cold air outbreak dropping south and east. Here we get now into Tuesday morning. That cold front, the next cold front, pushes on through, and the next cold air outbreak arrives on Tuesday, and especially Tuesday night into Wednesday. And again, once we get into that cold air mass, it stays rather sustained right through the remainder of April for the central and eastern U.S. Sustained colder than normal conditions. Well, in a way to show how sustained this cold air may be, let's take a look at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies from last night's ensemble run of the GFS at 0Z. These are the temperature anomalies at 850 millibars averaged out over 5-day periods. This is the current 5-day period, days 1 to 5 right here. This will average out a little bit below normal in the Mid-Atlantic region, a lot below normal up across the northern plains. So let's just move forward in time and look how sustained this cold air will be. Again, not every day will be above normal. Not every day in the second half of the month will be below normal. There certainly will be some days in between that may feature warmer than normal conditions. But when we look back on this period for the second half of April, the average over that entire period should be below normal in terms of temperatures across much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation. This is days 1 to 5, days 2 to 6, 3 to 7. Very impressive differences from normal up across the northern plains and southern Canada. Here's days 4 to 8. Really just a persistent pattern here. 5 to 9, 6 to 10, 7 to 11. We're all the way out now to April 15th to the 20th, like the third week in the month of April. And all the way out, this particular model goes all the way out to days 11 to 15 and finally ends with days 12 to 16, which ends April 25th. So we have a rather sustained period of colder than normal conditions coming to much of the eastern half of the nation during the second half of April. But before we get to that cold air outbreak next week, we have a lot to deal with over the next few days. First of all, powerful cold front arrives in the eastern U.S. By early afternoon today, associated with some showers, maybe in a couple of scattered strong to severe thunderstorms. Winds pick up markedly this afternoon, gusting to perhaps 50 miles per hour or so in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Those very strong winds continue tonight and on Friday as that colder air pours into the Mid-Atlantic region and the Northeast U.S. Then we have kind of a break on Saturday before a powerful storm forms over the middle of the nation on Sunday, and that storm will have all kinds of impact on all kinds of areas in the eastern two-thirds of the nation, accumulating snow up in the upper part of the Midwest, a severe weather outbreak possible in a widespread area from Texas, Louisiana, all the way to the Carolinas, maybe even into Virginia and Maryland, and potentially a heavy rain event for the Mid-Atlantic region and Northeast U.S. Sunday night and Monday. So a very active weather pattern continues. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.